deserve better than tyranny and corruption and torture chambers. You deserve to live as free people, and I assure every citizen of Iraq, your nation will soon be free. Thank you. You deserve to live as free people, and I assure every citizen of Iraq, your nation will soon be free.
This documentary tells one of the great untold stories of the Iraq War. How the US administration funded a deadly, sectarian, paramilitary force to fight those threatening the American presence. It was a decision that helped fuel a sectarian civil war that ripped Iraq apart. This is also the story of the man the Pentagon sent in to organize and train those paramilitary squads. He's a veteran of America's so-called dirty wars, stretching back to Vietnam and El Salvador. This man was so important to the Pentagon that the then Defense Secretary, Donald Rumsfeld, saw fit to forward his personal memos to the President and the Vice President.
To President George W. Bush, C.C., Vice President Richard B. Cheney, from Donald Rumsfeld. The attached memo is from a person we have sent into Iraq from time to time, essentially to work with the Iraqi police. He is smart, tough, and a keen observer.
In Baghdad, the now General Petraeus would use Steele's expertise to fight the Iraqi insurgency. The architects of the Iraq War did not expect a violent uprising, so they started training a regular police force for what they thought would be a mostly peaceful transition to a Western-style democracy. They brought in retired policemen like Douglas Brand and Jerry Burke to teach the basics of good civil policing.
We went in May of 2003 with 6 policemen, 6 American police officers.
This small group was unequal to the enormous task they were given.
To train 30,000+ policemen was a sort of 5 to 7 year project, but they wanted it done in 18 months.
The man seen here in the Navy bulletproof vest, Ahmed Khadoum, was installed as the Iraqi leader of this new civic police force. Hovering in the background is the mysterious figure of James Steele, observing and evaluating the situation, sending his classified reports back to US Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld. Steele had arrived in Baghdad in 2003, just after the invasion, describing himself as an energy consultant.
Came into the country, as I understand it, to work originally for the electricity board.
He just sort of showed up one day, went about his business, which nobody really understood what he was there to do. As I said, he seemed to be without portfolio, doing whatever it is that he wanted to take interest in.
This is the only known video footage of James Steele. As a civilian, he had no place in the military chain of command, yet he exercised enormous power in Iraq. The man on his left is the Special Forces Colonel, James Kaufman. He reported directly to General Petraeus. Initially, the security situation in Iraq was relatively stable, and the task of training the police continued. But then everything changed. The intensity of the Sunni insurgency surprised the Americans. US soldiers started being killed in increasing numbers. Flag-draped coffins were being shipped home with numbing regularity. The war was becoming unpopular in the United States. George Bush's 2004 re-election was being threatened by the crisis in Iraq. American soldiers were dying at the hands of Sunni Muslims who had lost the most from the fall of Saddam. Now Rumsfeld decided to arm the old enemies of Saddam. Saddam had killed tens of thousands of Shia during his rule, and now the Shia militias were only too happy to help the Americans put down the Sunni uprising. It was classic counterinsurgency. Paul Wolfowitz announced the policy change before a Senate committee.
The approach to those militias is to try over time to integrate them into new Iraqi security forces.
Shia militia from all over the country came in truckloads to Baghdad to join the new Special Police Commandos. They were enraged by suicide bombings of Shia civilians and assassinations and kidnappings by Sunni insurgents and al-Qaeda militants.
It was their time and power, an opportunity to take revenge upon former regime elements that had harmed them.
Iraq was on the path towards a sectarian civil war. The US Defense Secretary, Donald Rumsfeld, confirmed the new policing strategy in May 2004.
I've been reading about how we're trying to make efforts of placing Iraqi militia to handle the insurgents in Iraq.
We had a discussion with General Petraeus yesterday. I had a briefing today from a man named Steele who has been out there working with the security forces and doing a wonderful job as civilian, as a matter of fact.
James Steele, the counterinsurgency expert, was now the man of the moment. His job would be to build a police commando force.
Jim Steele, who's a retired Army colonel with incredible bravery and also incredible expertise about police forces in third world countries. He's been in Iraq for the last year.
The police units would increasingly be made up of members of Shia militias like the Badr brigades. Their job was to hunt down Sunni insurgents and their sympathizers. Like El Salvador, it would be a bloody and brutal business.
You deserve to live as free people, and I assure every citizen of Iraq, your nation will soon be free.